On 4 and 10 for Echo Fox. They'd like to bring this season a bit closer to even before it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, Echo Fox specifically are on a 5-series loss streak, and Phoenix1 are on a 4-series loss streak. So both of them looking to break those streaks here, and we'll take a look. We're still on 7-14, so we don't have any of those, Urgot or any of those adjustments coming quite in, and we should have pretty much those standards banned we're used to. Kalista here has really made her way from first pick every game already into the bans now. Not going to let that one through to Phoenix1 either.
Yeah, she's had such a big presence lately. Not surprised to see her banned away, along with the old gigantic presence in bottom lane. Caitlyn also banned out by Echo Fox, as Phoenix1 takes their targeted bans towards LeBlanc and Elise.
All right, not too many big surprises. Maybe we'll see actually 0 extra focus here as far as the mid lane. It's all supports with the secondary bans, and even Zyra coming out here from Echo Fox. Little bit different look, and they do let that Zac, the power pick, through. So MikeYeung, even though I talked a little bit about, yeah, maybe I was too quick on all the tank junglers, boom, you get one of the best. There you go.
When you've got something as strong as Zac, it's hard to say, no, don't. We don't want to play tanks. Don't worry about that.
The thing is now, you're trading back a lot, right? Because Maokai and Cho'Gath are also two of the very, very strong tanks right now, along with like Sejuani. So the power level of a lot of those champions is actually, closer and closer. And Echo Fox do immediately pick up that Maokai that has seen so much success. Just the guaranteed engage is incredible if you do start to get a lead, and then they also pick up disengage for the Janna in case they do need to buy some extra time.
It's a classic case of when one thing is really strong, you got to make sure that it's picked or banned all the time, but when everything's really strong, if everything's OP, nothing's OP, because they're all OP together.
Yeah, the classic Dota style, I guess. Give everybody the biggest guns.
Yep, if you got a big gun and I got a big gun, we are both going to have a close contest. Maokai and Zac picked up as the tanks for these two teams. You mentioned the Janna on the side of Echo Fox. Blitzcrank and Jayce picked up for P1, as Sivir is the final pick in the first rotation for Echo Fox.
Yeah, Echo Fox look like they have a very solid, team fighting composition here. This the classic Sivir, really accentuates Maokai's engage and, rundown comps like that. Meanwhile, on Phoenix1, fitting in the Jayce for Zig is very interesting because this, technically, it still can be flexed mid to Ryu. And I do really like, early first round or first half of the, pick phase, pickups up those flexible picks that can be switched into the mid lane for, a different look here. But right now, they're looking like they want to work off some early pressure. Blitzcrank thrives when he gets to get early roaming and can roam away from the lane. And Jayce, whether he's mid or top, being able to flex that into an advantageous matchup should be also to be able to get some pushing power.
A couple of top lane bans coming out during the second part of the ban phase. Rumble and Poppy banned out, as well as a Draven ban from Echo Fox, further targeting the AD carry pool of Arrow.
Yeah, trying to get a lot of them off the board here. Jhin still very popular. Into Maokai is maybe a bit of a deterrent because he's not the best at killing tanks, but it is just a single tank, and I don't think a single member on the front line like that is gonna really scare you away from the pick, especially if they do want to be kind of early game oriented.
Thinking about a couple different things here for Arrow. Hovering over the Ezreal, hovering over the Vayne.
Yeah.
Both not the kind of things you would expect.
Yeah, exactly, because Ezreal on live on 7:15 gets a little bit of a bump, I think, or maybe that's even on the PBE, so it's out in the future, but not quite here yet. So as I was saying before, Jhin definitely was going to be the go-to here. One tank Maokai on the front is annoying, but that's not going to be the end all. What I'm talking about, though, double armor penetration here, lethality from Jayce and Jhin.
Yeah.
For those damage dealers, they're definitely going to need a decent, source like Cassiopeia or something, some kind of machine gun mage, basically, from the mid lane. There you go, secondary machine gun here. Taliyah's been, everyone talks about the low cooldowns on threaded volley, and it, in the late game, her damage actually doesn't fall off like it did initially when the champion came out.
All right, and seeing Shen locked in on the side of Echo Fox means that Maokai is going into the jungle. Sometimes you still see him hanging out in the top lane, so interesting how you can flex that one and ultimately make your decision there at the end. But team comps are finalized as Phoenix1 and Echo Fox go into this ever so important first game, because especially for teams that haven't been having the best split overall, you can really do a lot with the momentum of the first win in the in the series.
Definitely true, and I think even the momentum of the opening of this game is going to tell a lot, because Phoenix1, as we said, they have two champions here, Jayce and Jhin, that, well, Jhin at least is definitely going to build lethality. Jayce has the option and probably will as well. Are they going to be able to outpace these tanks? Because now it's not just the Maokai. He's flexed into the jungle, and they have the Shen as well. So those will become difficult, especially if we transition into that 5-on-5 mid that we've seen so much, post 20, 25 minutes. Will, Phoenix1 be able to keep up the pace here? They do have a lot of roaming power with the Blitzcrank and the Taliyah that can create early action. That's going to have to be the case.
Plus, you got the Zac. When Zac can start the fights off from 2,000 units away, even if he doesn't secure the kill for himself, it buys enough time for those two to get in there, cause all sorts of havoc among them. But I want to keep eyes on MikeYeung this time, because you did mention how rough his time was last week. And at the same time, this isn't the kind of champion that comes to mind when you think MikeYeung. You're thinking about Lee Sin's, you're thinking about Nidalee's, you're thinking about what Mark mentioned with how he can get in the opponent's face and just try to 1v1 them in their jungle or steal their camps or counter jungle. Zac's much more of an active ganker, so I want to see how he ends up playing this and if he can find the success on it that he couldn't find last week.
All right, we'll keep our eyes peeled then, Captain Flowers, and update you on his status. Zac, as you're talking about the power of his ganks, they really take off once you get a lot more levels in this elastic slingshot. As you're well aware, the mid lane is his lane of choice to gank, because you have so many angles, but he also can get creative around those side lanes over the tri-bush and even come from behind if you're trying to circle around.
One thing to remember this game, too, because Froggen is on that Corki, meaning he has the package, he can take a combat summoner spell along with his flash, so he'll have the exhaust if there is a dive or gank or any other attempt on his own life, as he trades back and forth with Ryu here in the mid lane and gets himself back before it impacts his lane at all.
Yeah, throwing out a couple of jabs here for both of them. Pretty decent trade as everybody backs. Only deep ward, really, is Phoenix1 get one on the blue buff, which is going to alert them that Maokai is not starting on the bottom side. It is a possibility, but Maokai gets so much of an advantage because of the power of saplings in the brush and being able to even do Raptors completely by himself. You want to stagger your saplings, one close to the Raptors, one far away, so that you can take advantage of that damage over time. The second half of the sapling that gets buffed up by being placed in that bush. We'll take a look and see if he's done it, because a lot of people have actually messed that up and overlapped the dots, not getting the full damage. Zig gonna try and steal one.
Well, Akaadian's doing it right based on what we've seen so far. He spaced him out. Kaboom, 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 kaboom. The saplings explode in tandem, and he'll hit his level 2 pretty easily.
Meanwhile, MikeYeung gets that super powerful leash from the bottom lane, kills the small Raptors, goes over to pick up his red on Zac, and that is very nice for Zac to be able to get off to a very early start. Because we said he wanted to get some levels in him a little bit before he starts to gank. Not feeling too much pressure since he's up in the Maokai matchup, but definitely needs a bit more range before the laners have to get kind of scared. And that's been an interesting change in the meta as well, with the rise of Cinderhulk junglers. Not many of the tank champions that take advantage of Cinderhulk are those level 3, 2.5-minute gankers, right? So some of the laners have actually expressed they're a little bit happier in the early game, at least, before the Cinderhulk really starts coming through and the tanks are engaging on you. But at least they don't have to worry about the super early damaging ganks.
Yeah, no Kha'Zix or no Rengar coming after you just past 3 minutes into the game. Little bit more breathing room early on as Ryu and Froggen will just farming up back and forth here on these mages that are going to scale into significant damage threats as this game goes on. I already mentioned the package. You mentioned the Weaver's Wall from Taliyah, so both these two are going to have such an ability to impact the game. A nice pull there from Xpecial onto Gate. Arrow fires off a single shot, but it only hits Mash and doesn't really get a lot done there. MikeYeung back to his roots. MikeYeung counter jungling. Even if he's on a tank, he's trying to get in the enemy jungler's territory somehow.
And the reason he's going for this, and the reason he was so confident in knowing that Akaadian is not there, as we said, they had that ward on the blue buff, knew that Maokai didn't start there. Maokai is going to need that mana regeneration after clearing the 2 camps on the top side. This is basically the most common routes, and the classic Krug steal has kind of been a given basically for so long here. MikeYeung does go and get it a little bit earlier than we're used to seeing, and is going to return to his own side of the jungle to try and reverse clear, but Akaadian should not really be caught by surprise there, and Brandini either, as they also get a ward down. They see MikeYeung on the exit. Both junglers level 4, no problems really encountered early, but MikeYeung's next stop could be towards mid lane. That's why Ryu, if you look at the mini-map, he's hovering to the bottom side. Because they know that MikeYeung's on the top side. They know that Zach, even this early in the game, does like to gank mid lane. But you can outrange this early elastic slingshot. When he's only got 2 levels in it, just hover to the opposite side of that mid lane. You should be able to react easily, and Froggen, especially on Corki, feels very safe there.
Right, you've got the Valkyrie, even if you get yourself in too much trouble. Even if Valkyrie's not enough, he's still got both summoner spells up and available. It'll be very hard to put this guy in a truly compromising spot, at least until there's a bit more oomph behind that elastic slingshot. Akaadian clears his own jungle out, back to those Raptors for the second spawn. So many times, especially back in the days of those junglers you were talking about, those aggressive warrior junglers, you would see them invade each other's camps, especially trying to steal away that second Raptor camp around 4.5 minutes if they could. Another nice pull from Xpecial in the bottom lane, though. Gate taking some damage yet again, but Arrow eats some boomerangs there from Mash.
Yeah, the only thing is that all these hooks are on the Janna, are on Gate here, and Janna's happy to just continually chug potions here, especially going in for the knockup to set this one up, though.
Deadly Flourish blocked by the spell shield, but that means that Mash doesn't have it to block a pull. Gets himself out of the way of that danger before it becomes a possibility. Fan vote pretty close today, Kobe. 60% for Echo Fox, 40% for Phoenix1, which honestly is a bit surprising considering how much hype this team had coming back from Rift Rivals. Everybody was saying, MikeYeung, he's the dude who's going to bring it back. Phoenix1, they're looking fierce, they're looking ferocious, and then it just didn't happen domestically.
It was so exciting watching Phoenix1 at Rift Rivals and coming out of the gate, just aggressive play style, constant engagements, MikeYeung going off in the early game, and not only did the teams they're playing against change when they came back to NA, but also the meta changed when they came back to NA, and they really kind of dropped off a bit of a cliff here. Looking to right things, though, especially on MikeYeung. I want to get that combination gank in to the bottom side. Janna and Sivir is so annoying to gank, though, because of the ways that they have to get out of it. Here we go. Lands on
there
Mash.
They go. Looking to pull him back in. Stand United onto Mash, making sure he stays safe, but blowing those summoner spells could go a long way for these guys.
Yeah, it looks like Zig interrupted the Stand United. It doesn't really matter. Honestly, Brandini is kind of happy that it was interrupted because Mash already flashed out. And that's kind of the scenario where you get a little bit of a facepalm when your bottom lane flashes away at the same time your Shen just hit level 6 and uses ultimate. He's like, I'm ready, we can turn this around. But now it's on cooldown, plus the flash is on cooldown. That's actually quite significant for Phoenix1. I'd say successful move, even though there's no kill and there's not a tremendous amount of pressure. Those are some good cooldowns that they were able to burn here off the side of Echo Fox, some defensive ones. We'll see if they can remain offensive here for Phoenix1 and continue to try and create more aggressive plays.
And discoordination like that and those sorts of situations where it seems like a little bit better communication might have made for a much better play are one of the things that constantly gets questioned about Echo Fox, as now the catch here onto Gate, who blows his flash to get away. But when you're running so many substitutes like this and so many swaps like the Echo Fox roster is, each individual player has less time to practice with each individual other player, so those synergies just aren't built up the same way they would be if you had a permanent 5-man roster.
Yeah, that's such an interesting topic too, as far as talking about player synergies, because the ideal scenario is that you get to a point where you don't actually have to say very much information. You don't have to take up much airtime in the communications of the team to communicate important points like that. Yes, it would be ideal. It would be like, hey, I'm about to hit level 6, on the next minion wave with Shen. Hey, if they gank you, be ready. We can turn this around. Stuff like that. Or if, as you're saying, you played with the person for a long time, they only have to tell you, like, you're good. And that's it. And the rest of the airtime can be, saved for other information that does need to be communicated. On the other hand, just talking about, hey, we're getting ganks. Do you have, anything available? Can be pulled off pretty quickly.
Significant CS advantage down here in the bottom lane for Phoenix1, which, honestly, Phoenix1's bottom lane so far this split hasn't been what a lot of people were hoping it would be, considering Arrow was MVP in Spring Split. Considering this guy was looking so impressive, his summer performance hasn't been on the same level.
Yeah, as you're talking about their struggle since they came back from Rift Rivals, that was definitely another part of it. Akaadian through to the river, doesn't go, find that pixel control ward though. And leaving that standing actually does remove quite a few options for any of these dragon plays that are kind of approaching here. You know, as we crest the 10-minute mark, this starts to get more and more lucrative, I'd say, especially with you know, Stand United coming back off cooldown pretty soon here. The bottom lane playing defensively until that does happen, though. You can see Mash and you know, Gate backing off appropriately.
2 teleports up plus a valuable Drake means that you could see some very early action. Absolutely agree. Bottom lane likely the catalyst for that action to come out. As Akaadian moves towards the bottom side, clears out a ward, just taking care of some of that vision, leaving a sapling in its place in case Phoenix1 decides that they want to reward it immediately. They'll get a nasty little surprise. Froggen also getting close to that Trinity Force power spike. Has 2 out of 3 of the parts completed. As Gate gonna get pulled yet again. Deadly flourish out onto him, but the counterattack from Echo Fox. Akaadian jumping in. MikeYeung mounting his own counter assault now as the stretching strikes find their way onto 2 different members. Let's Bounce also gonna be dragging him back. Mash. Stand United keeping him alive for now, but the flash into the auto attack, and Arrow's got first blood. Another deadly flourish finds its mark as Xpecial is on the chase with a beautiful hook onto Frog, and the curtain call opens up. MikeYeung's into the back line, and 3 are down. Ryu's still staying alive. He will finally fall, but it's 4 for 1 for Phoenix1.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in Champion Select and Phoenix1 wanting to push the tempo with their team comp, but you do not expect this type of, you know, explosive counter gank here. MikeYeung waiting in that brush there on Zach, able to immediately answer this aggression from Echo Fox. They absolutely get destroyed. The bottom lane of Phoenix1, Captain Flowers, really showing up here. Xpecial's landed every single hook that I've seen him throw out onto Gate. Must be like 5 in a row at this point. And Arrow this time around flashes for the first blood, lands the snare afterwards, and Xpecial also does, you know, the no-look hook here to grab Corki as well. Here's the first one. They land the hook. He lands the snare afterwards. MikeYeung is charging up the whole time. And even though he doesn't even initially jump onto Mash, he still gets the, you know, knockback there as he drags him in, allowing Arrow to flash for that. They land the snare, and then Xpecial moves up right next to him, making Froggen feel like there's no way this guy is going to go for me with the hook. Able to land that one as well. And a really, really big pickup here for Phoenix1 that's going to accelerate their game.
Arrow must have heard me saying his performance was not as good in Summer Split, because 2-0-2 on a Jhin now, only 11 minutes into the game, doing the most damage in that last team fight. Phenomenal showing from him, hitting 2 different deadly flourishes to make sure they secured those kills.
And a little bit of what we talked about as far as why, you know, they're going to look to be more proactive early. Jhin, as we said, lethality right off the bat. You know, Ghost Blade's his first item here for Arrow. Really effective. You could see in that early fight, and he only even had the serrated Dirk at that point. It wasn't even the fully completed Ghost Blade, but so much more, you know, damage output as far as the kit of Jhin early on and the build path than this Sivir, because Sivir's building into crit multipliers and wants to be that late game beast, right? Ricochet's flying around with all those big crits that you're used to, but definitely allows Phoenix1 to play off that power early on in the bottom side with the nice counter gank there from MikeYeung.
I mean, lethality is just so effective as a single item, right? The general rule for crit is ineffective with 1 item, sort of effective with 2, really comes online with 3. But when you're behind like that, when you lose a 1-for-4 team fight at 10 minutes into the game, that scaling becomes a pretty scary prospect. Because now you got to be hanging on the entire time while you're slipping, while you're trying to regain that footing, and you're over 2,000 gold behind.
With that being said, a lot of early armor coming in here now. Brandini and Akaadian both starting to pick up their cloth armors, their ninja tabby are coming through. It's actually quite nice as, you know, a Shen top lane if, oh yeah, I do have to play into Jayce and, you know, he's going to get some CS lead on me and you know, it's annoying to have to play that, you know, melee versus range matchup, but at least it's a attack damage laner plus, you know, I transition into wanting to build armor anyway for the Jhin as well. We'll see if Ryu makes him pay for it though. As we said, Taliyah, often her DPS is underestimated. Mid lane, currently there's 4 people on the turret, by the way, if you scroll over this one. And they're really taking it to this mid lane turret. Half the health gone.
Phoenix1 made that rotation without taking down the enemy tier 1 bottom lane first, which is the usual play that you would see. Brandini flashing to go for the solo kill onto Zig here, who's trying to get himself away, but the acceleration gate almost does the trick. Not quite.
He absolutely gets demolished here, and the Shen gets the solo kill onto Zig. He's going to feel pretty bad about that one. Really nicely played there by Brandini. And we talked about as well, you know, the subs here for Echo Foxes are trying to rotate through, switching all these different guys up. There's a lot that goes into it. This one is Zig interrupting that teleport. It was going to be a flank play in the mid lane, and that was completely overzealous by Zig. Take, what was that, 2 or 3 tower shots, and easy for Brandini to chase him down. He's happy to take that one because there wasn't even a guarantee that the mid lane flank was actually going to pay off. And definitely going to be able to use this solo kill gold to fuel his Sunfire Cape. Almost there. He's able to get more armor on top of his Zombie Cinder.
Pretty much totally fixes the situation you were talking about where you feel bad as the Shen having to give up the multiple creeps to the Jayce in lane, get bullied around a lot. Well, that bullying doesn't mean anything if you get a massive golden EXP influx from grabbing a solo kill.
Yeah, I mean, even though the Black Cleaver's completed, which is, you know, kind of one of those annoying points for the Shen, actually feeling quite decent about where he's sitting now. His Stand United is also available, so even though his teleport was interrupted, Echo Fox still have, you know, counterplay opportunities available to them to try and get back up into this game.
One of them they're going for now with Froggen getting some damage onto Ryu there. Had Akaadian and Gate right behind him, but Ryu was safe enough. Froggen does have that Trinity Force I was talking about earlier, so that power spike is online for this Corki, makes him very, very scary in a team fight, especially if he can stay in the back and get off a lot of those rockets. Despite the single kill up in the top side, Zig still maintains control over that, kind of the nature of Jayce versus Shen. Unless he falls incredibly far behind, he'll still always be the commander of the tempo up there in that top part of the map, as MikeYeung has his own jungle invaded by Akaadian, but he's got plenty of help nearby to keep that safe.
Yeah, Echo Fox, you can see they're trying to set up for the next Drake spawn, moving in, trying to get some red quadrant vision here over Phoenix1 inside their jungle, but they get chased out. Phoenix1 able to clear out some of the wards. Not quite enough, though, and they're actually going to meet up in the river here. Maybe they go for another pull from Xpecial.
He's been hitting them this game, mostly on the gate, but he has been hitting them.
And that's a quality target, too. Sometimes people really don't value hits onto the support and pulls onto the support, but he's continually burning summoners off of the Janna, and then Janna's actually a very big part of keeping those double backlines safe. You know, Froggen and Mash relied pretty heavily on Gate to not only keep them safe, but also, you know, assist in buffing up their damage. We'll see as well if the Ardent Sensor is our next item for Gate. Should definitely be the rush. That item is absolutely tremendous at this point.
Dive in mid lane. MikeYeung jumps in, tries to slam Froggen into the turret, but doesn't quite have the range to make the slam go all the way. More pressure from P1 in the mid lane, though. They really want this turret.
Yeah, down to 33% here for the turret. And remember, the first turret gold is still available. 17 minutes in, but now we have an engage on Xpecial.
Uh-oh, Xpecial a bit far forward, sidestepping away from those cats, but he still gets taken down, and now Arrow's the one who's going to be in trouble, dying for the sins of his support with him. 2 kills over the way of Echo Fox.
And they didn't even have to use their Stand United to make it happen. Brandini still has it plus his teleport available, so just like that, Echo Fox get to claim the Cloud Drake for themselves and retain map pressure.
Tragedy for Phoenix1 getting the bot lane caught out there. Giving away that Cloud Drake keeps that elemental count even between the two teams. So if we do see one of those long scaling attrition war type of games, the Elder Drake going to be equally powerful for both, at least based on the current standings. Not one team running away with both of those. Ryu still trying to clear out mid lane here, falling behind in CS. Has now completed Morello Namicon, though, so it'll be a bit more close in power to Corki. But here's a replay of the catch.
And this is huge because Ryu was at 30% life and extremely low. So Echo Fox know that even if he joins the fight, they're going to have a huge, huge advantage in it. Akaadian on Maokai just charges right in. Very nice team coordination there from him. Akaadian didn't even have to blow his flash on that Maokai, so they have a lot of options. Even though the gold's still in Phoenix1 favor, it's looking a little bit scary for them as far as the race to this first turret gold, because the team fight that's going to break out over whoever tries to seize up on that first turret, you know, this Sivir empowered front line of Echo Fox is already online and ready to roll.
I mean, Sivir, when you've got 2 gigantic tanks in a tank meta, especially one of which has point-and-click CC, very, very threatening if those 2 can get on top of you like that. We've seen Maokai's have a tendency towards building Righteous Glory these days with how strong that item is to help him get in range. Sivir's just like a second Righteous Glory for him.
There you go. Doesn't even have to build Righteous Glory. He can get more team fight power in building into the locket so early for his squad. That being said, all the turret health very low.
Nice taunt there onto Arrow, who does get himself back in time. Now it's a 3 versus 1 here on to Brandini, who has to flash back, but he gets pulled right back into the mix. Tries to go back onto Arrow, making it 1-for-1. Arrow flashing away, and he dies! Brandini makes it 1-for-1.
He's able to take it down. What can the rest of Echo Fox do to answer? They just lost the first turret gold, but they should be able to get mid lane on top as well. Zig is pushing top side. This could be a 2-for-1 Phoenix1 turret trade. That being said, those turrets were all of the outer turrets already heavily weakened and were very close to being toppled. So Phoenix1 get a little bit of that gold, but they did as well give over a counter kill here and the flash on Arrow. So
Arrow's flash
Jhin is definitely vulnerable.
in a 3 versus 1, and he still dies, is really not a good omen for how these team fights may play out. They've got to make sure they're protecting him. I mean, you pick the Jhin. This is a champion that you know has to be protected. It's got to stay safe. But then Brandini just manages to get the kills onto him. Just enough damage to him.
Brandini flashes the snare, gets pulled back in, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm in here for life. Gonna go for the kill. It's his only option, and he's able to find it. Definitely feels good about that one right before he goes down. Summoner spells were used as well. The Ignite on Xpecial. Not to be underestimated, so a couple of them burn there.
And look at that, 10-2 in 2017 Summer for Phoenix1. If they're ahead at 20, just means because they've had such a poor record this split, they're often not ahead at 20. But when they can find an early game that's successful for them, it means they're not struggling transitioning that into a full-on win.
And a lot of the victories for Phoenix1 with those early game comps that we saw earlier in the season was a different meta as well. And as we said a couple times here, you know, with the Maokai and the Shen, it makes life for Jhin much more difficult as we get further and further into the game. So we'll see how Arrow plays it further. He definitely ran into some problems, and now having to work without a flash, it's not going to be the best case scenario. They are going to try and topple the mid lane turret, though.
P1 sieges up. Pull in there onto Akaadian, who fires off the ulti. Now looking to lead the charge there into the middle of the fight onto the Phoenix1 lines as Echo Fox continues pushing. Let's bounce onto Brandini. Might be able to take him down first. Ryu grabs the kill. Deadly Flourish not finding anyone. Shock Blast going to be finding 3. Zig taking a lot of damage from Froggen. Now trying to retreat in his own right as MikeYeung jumping back onto both Froggen and Akaadian. Echo Fox disengages, only losing 1.
Pretty big plays here from MikeYeung, able to get the kidnap kill and goes back in.
Oh, they want even more. Heal popped onto Xpecial, keeping him alive, but Ryu comes over the wall and the damage is there. Akaadian falls as Gate is the victim of Arrow's damage and the 3rd casualty of Echo Fox.
Oh, they're not done yet. Froggen actually looked like he wanted to leap over for another kill, but Phoenix1, he got 3 more for themselves. See if they're done yet here. Froggen with double buffs.
I think they're done. Froggen's aggressive. He wants revenge, but I don't think he's going to get it. Unless Ryu might be tempted fate. Nope. Okay.
Honestly, though, that was quite well played there from Phoenix1 and MikeYeung specifically. Nice focus fire for the team to be able to burn them down. You think that, oh, they pulled in the Maokai. That's actually not bad for Echo Fox. On the front line, Maokai immediately pops a bunch of the shields, but they actually take down the tank here, and a lot of the DPS comes from Ryu. You know, this magic damage source, because there's so much armor built, but not that much magic resistance, definitely huge. MikeYeung, that's the 2nd big play, by the way. He was the one who also kidnapped Brandini with his ultimate, then goes back in for the lockdown, and kind of sets this one up. Nice snare there from Ryu, or from Arrow.
Ooh, that rocket was really, really close. Ryu barely walking away from that one. 2-1-4 on this Taliyah, though, so doing a bang-up job so far on this champion.
Meanwhile, back to the split push race.
Oh, yeah.
Teleports are available, and we do have, a lot of potential for something to break out around mid lane. Mash's ultimate's back up for Sivir. Blitzcrank is always kind of an instant engagement button here for Xpecial with how accurate he's been on his hooks so far.
Max range taunt, grabbing its way onto Zig as Froggen arrives via the package, so Arrow can't turn this into a 2v1. 2v2 is too scary right now for Phoenix1, so they back away.
Infernal, though. Let's get started again.
Fiesta Drake is online. Let's see who's willing to fight over it, and it looks like it's Phoenix1 with a nice pull onto Akaadian, but the cats come out. They can't finish him off in time. still barely walking away as Phoenix1 needs a bit more if they want to make this successful, but the rockets from Froggen will keep them at bay. Weaver's wall comes out, blocking off the escape route, and yet another pull from Xpecial to get Phoenix1 the kill.
Nice wall there to able to, you know, corner Gate and be able to get another kill. Inferno Drake starting up here for Echo Fox, though. Akaadian needs to heal up off the Drake. He needs to go hit it for the passive.
Echo Fox is saying, we lost one, but we're actually willing to take this fight. They grabbed the objective. They've got the better of this trade so far. Phoenix1 needs to get at least one more kill if they want to make this happen. Brandini into the entirety of the Phoenix1 lines. MikeYeung knockback, arrow flashing away. Brandini still alive. The stand united out onto Akaadian, but he's going to be brought down. The tank line has fallen. But Zig now also dangerously low, but they destroy the remainder of Echo Fox. And Ryu goes on a rampage with a double kill for Zig.
That's 4 kills and nobody from Phoenix1 goes down. That is barren for them. They're going to be able to get a pretty advantageous trade here. Yes, Echo Fox were able to take the Infernal Drake, but I'd say part 2 here is definitely going to be more worth. Now, the kicker would be if Xpecial on Janna was able to get over there and pull a Lemon Nation or something, steal it with a tornado. Not the case, though. He doesn't even head over to try, and Phoenix1 reap the rewards.
They're up 8,000 gold now, Kobe. This game just blew wide open.
Definitely was exciting. And again, off another pull onto the front line. You know, he's a bit far from the rest of the team, so they burned down Akaadian really early here. And that's why they felt like, oh, we've got a pretty decent health lead, plus Sivir ultimate was blown in the last engagement. Ryu's wall, though, is what really turns it here. He corners Gate, they line up the hook really nicely with it, and they get the one-man advantage. As you said, though, with that, Echo Fox still start up the Drake, they burn it down, and we take a look at the engagement here. MikeYeung gets the smite onto the Scuttlecraft for more health, but Brandini finds Arrow very quickly in the fight, then ults him, but it doesn't matter. They have the extra man advantage. Ryu's, I actually want to see the damage charts from this because I feel like Ryu on the Taliyah has hit almost all of his threaded volleys, and because there's so much focus on the armor from the enemy team, it seems like he's putting out a large amount of DPS. Regardless, though, they're using that Baron buff, a lot of gold.
I mean, you even said it when we were looking at the draft as it progressed before the game started. You said they need some kind of a machine gun mage. They need consistent AP damage. And Ryu has really stepped up, not just with the pick, but with the mechanics behind it. As Phoenix1 throws out the Weaver's wall, again, great use of the ability to take down the inhibitor no contest. The inhibitor turret, at least. Inhibitor's dropping now. Echo Fox doesn't look like they're willing to go for this.
Nope. Burn down here. One inhibitor is... You know, they, oh, wow, they got the...
boy, Deadly Flourish, Root, and Ryu unstoppable.
Yeah, they get it out. They got the snare, and boom, he's dead. Doesn't even get to use a Summer spell, by the way. Froggen, within the snare duration, gets shoved in and burned down, so not a lot of defense here for Echo Fox. Now they have to fight another 4 versus 5, but this time it's their mid laner that's down.
Here we go. Echo Fox on the defense. MikeYeung brings one back, but again, it's only Akaadian, but so much damage. The tank line isn't a tank. MikeYeung grabs the kill credit. Phoenix1 continues to push 15-5, 12,000 gold up. 2 enemy inhibitors down. And this could just be the game.
I mean, Froggen's back up so they can try and mount the defense, but Baron buff on Phoenix1 means they're going for broke.
Xpecial again could land one big hook and just end the game right here. Brandini on the front line, but not for long. Curtain Call opens up, the damage comes down. Zig goes on a killing spree, and Echo Fox scrambles to try to keep themselves alive. Froggen rooted up, tossed back, the seismic shove. Again, gonna force the package out defensively. Echo Fox needs some kind of a miracle, Kobe, but I don't think they're getting one today. Phoenix1 wants this victory, and they want it quickly. Echo Fox 4 men strong versus the 5-man squad of Phoenix1. They take down MikeYeung, and that should be the call to bat from P1.
Let's see if they can get the engage here. Echo Fox, Froggen flashes forward!
Oh, Ryu taking down the double kill by the very end of the boomerang for Mash. Xpecial speeding up to get away. Echo Fox will settle with those 2.
Whew. So Echo Fox have bought themselves some time to farm, but their base is in ruins, and this is going to be a very difficult comeback. Have a long way to go here. I mean, you can always like try and bank on late game Sivir and just go farm for late. We need to get more crit multipliers in here, but he's a full item behind Ryu at this point. And Ryu on Jhin already has the Infinity Edge plus Rapid Fire Cannon. We've seen the amount of burst damage he can put out. Take another look at this fight though. The crit bounce here as well as the rockets, is just what takes out MikeYeung. He has no passive available. You know, one rocket and one bouncing crit there from Mash takes it. Then Froggen flashes him, gets him low enough. Really combining nicely here for the backline of EchoFox, combining for 2 kills.
EchoFox breathes a sigh of relief because their Nexus is still alive, but it's not that good of a sigh because they're still in a really rough spot to try to find a win here. With 1 inhibitor down, 2 inhibitors down, excuse me, 1 left to be pushed on, and the rest of Phoenix1, they know that. They realize they can just mount this push.
And it's really interesting to watch them melt these tanks too, because Xpecial starts it out with a hook. That buys you extra time with kind of free DPS on the tank. Zig has built full tank killer Jayce here with Blade of the Ruin King, plenty of armor penetration, and we talked about Rio as well. Same for him. So Phoenix1 shouldn't really have any problems burning through any frontliner. That's why Xpecial is happy to hook in whoever is closest.
Nobody's safe.
They could just burn them down.
Phoenix1 still sieged up here. The Weaver's Wall, you just saw it come out, but they only got about half the turret. EchoFox did a good job of clearing away the minion waves, so Phoenix1 didn't feel comfortable just bursting this one down like they did in the other lane. Now the Shock Blast will continue to fire off. Phoenix1 will continue to try to find their chance here. Baron spawning in under 2 minutes. Mountain Drake now live, so if they do decide this siege isn't going to work out, there are other options for this team.
Plenty of options here. Time is on their side. Arrow just going to go up and start the burn on that turret as well. Double lines of super minions is difficult for a Shen to deal with. He doesn't have Titanic Hydra. It's just the regular Tiamat and the Sunfire burn, so they don't have a lot of time either.
Mash and EchoFox trying to hold that line, popping the Sivir ulti and everything else. There's no Nexus turrets left either, so no help from anything clearing those minions away once they make their way into the base. Phoenix1 knows that. It's why they continue hanging out outside this tier 3. It's got 1/5 of its HP left. I feel like they're pulling the trigger real.
Yeah, they're relaxed, man. Just going fishing here. Xpecial, throwing out the hook, throwing out some new bait. They actually get a snare onto Akaadian again.
And another wall, which means the tier 3 falls. Now, they actually want to force the fight onto the inhibitor itself. Doesn't look like it. Traps being thrown down. Arrow and the rest of Phoenix1 backing away. And it looks like they'll regroup the Baron.
Nice relaxing fishing trip there. Results in only 1 inhibitor still alive in the entire base of EchoFox. 1 inhibitor, 1 Nexus. That's not a lot to work with.
No, not really. Your entire base is in shambles. Everybody on your team is significantly far behind their counterparts. The only one that you might say is even is Mash, but he's still 1,500 gold down, even if he's up a lot of CS, even if his KDA is all right. It's just such a scary situation because barring Phoenix1 making a huge mistake, EchoFox has got to be wondering where the win condition is.
Well, it's all in that farm for late, boys, and the bouncing blade crits.
Don't worry when you scale.
Mash. Meanwhile, they're trying to also defend vision around Baron. Baron-empowered super minions just kind of is too much to deal with. So EchoFox looking to get out on the field and take advantage early. They do have Brandini with Stand United available.
Xpecial again, just going for the pull onto the tank. Akaadian now in the back line, firing off the ulti. MikeYeung soaking the damage from the brunt of EchoFox. Inhibitor respawns at the same time. Akaadian barely escaping with his life there. Janna shield keeping him okay as the deadly flourish weaves its way through multiple members to find him. Froggen getting himself back with that Valkyrie. Package used again defensively.
Back onto the Baron here. EchoFox and Akaadian actually heals up a little bit. The wall comes to lock them inside the death trap.
Wall. They might be stuck right in the middle. MikeYeung makes his entrance, but Mash ultimately secures the objective itself. Brandini still going to be tanking as Zig gets shut down first. EchoFox are getting away with murder, Kobe. They take down 2 on Phoenix1 and get the Baron.
Trapped inside with who? Gate gonna flash over the wall though. They're not gonna lose a man in that play, and EchoFox secure the Baron for their defense.
What a play from EchoFox when it looked like they had seemingly no way out, no way back into the game. They pull off what shouldn't have been pull-offable. And they make it happen.
Pull-offable!
Pull-offable, it's a verb,
the
I think. But they did it, and now they're okay, sort of.
They're fine. They got plenty of crits coming through. Farm for late is starting to arrive. They have a Baron buff to work with, and it's still 8 seconds on Phoenix1, so they'll get back to defend their inhibitor turrets, but More gold into the pockets of Echo Fox. Secondary turrets should be forfeit. They can pick up the Mountain Drake. There's a lot of gold on the table for them, you know, to go pick up. And man, is that going to help them out tremendously with their DPS for team fights. Here goes MikeYeung. He's going for the steal. He gets the double knock up. And it's so close that the smite is timed with Sivir getting it there. And MashMe's Sivir DPS here. You said it. 2 of the crit items here, along with Infinity Edge, come through, and he's finally able to put out the big numbers.
And Froggen the same way. Froggen just now completing the rapid fire cannon there on the Corki. Means that his poke is going to be that much more long range, going to have that much more punch behind it. The scaling comp is scaling. And we're getting to the point where Phoenix1 really has to start considering how much damage they're going to be taking in these fights if they continue to pull tanks. They're not so far ahead with a 12,000 gold lead anymore that they can just sit on it and say, okay, we'll pull whoever, we'll start whatever fight we want. They've got to start making sure they're doing smart fights, or they just may throw this game yet.
Mash is going to be #1 priority. MikeYeung has to go for him. Xpecial has to look for the hooks on him. This Sivir is going to destroy your team.
Ooh, no pull. Not that time. Xpecial dialing him in all game, but now not quite finding the mark as Echo Fox pushes into the Phoenix1 base and just obliterates the inhibitor turret. Inhibitor doesn't take much more effort as they walk away.
They've got Brandini. He's moving down bottom lane. They can just wait for extra pressure to mount here. 4-1 split. Baron buff empowered with the Shen. Feels quite nice. Even going to look for a little bit of a pick themselves here. Sivir ultimate's avail. No, it's not actually. So it's not going to be regular speed walk up.
Mike goes a little bit far forward. Elastic slingshot to get himself away. TP channeled. Brandini wants to get in there. Will not go for the taunt onto the enemy tank. Thinks that's just a little bit too risky. I'd have to agree with that one. Echo Fox decides to call it instead.
Yeah, thank goodness there for MikeYeung that Sivir was not available and he is able to get out. But it just goes to show how quickly the tables have turned, right? And that's why we put so much emphasis on the, yeah, but keep in mind,
there's always the but what if.
We're scaling here with the very powerful front line.
All it took was that one mistake from Phoenix1 to allow Echo Fox to grab the
Can they do the blast zone correctly? They
but
can!
Now Akaadian caught out alone. The Cats come out, seeing if he can contain them long enough. Akaadian brought down. Phoenix1 may have been able to find their fight.
Blast cone fail for Echo Fox.
Unlucky. Phoenix1, though, got their pick. That's 40 seconds without Maokai up.
Check the tapes. Who popped that one? I think it was Mash, maybe. Is he the one who just kind of threw Akaadian's life away?
We're gonna see. Somebody's got to get the blame for this. Okay.
Captain Flowers.
Detective Captain Flowers is on the. Wait.
This was before you were promoted. Your original position.
Yeah.
Get it.
Don't just be captain of the force.
I'll take over play while you do that.
Okay.
All right. Super Minions stand no chance versus Ryu. Here we go. We're back into the replays. They get the root down on him. Froggen's in place. Mash is in place. Akaadian is not, and it's Froggen who does it. Oh, he pulled the trigger.
Yep.
Froggen decides that Akaadian has made too many mistakes this game.
Lord Froggen giveth and Lord Froggen taketh away. Don't get on his bad side, or he's gonna blast cone you back into the enemy team.
He was like, Greg, you ready to come in next game? Ejects Akaadian.
Well, Echo Fox is still in a much better spot than they were a little while ago. 4,800 gold Baron power play to even this game out a little bit. Only 6,000 gold separates the teams now. And honestly, we're closing in on the point where builds are nearly as good as they're going to get. A lot of people are hitting 5 items, potentially even close to 6.
I see some slots over here for Echo Fox to fill in. Builds are definitely builds are definitely capping out for Phoenix1, but Echo Fox, they just keep on finding money. They've had great day after great day. Walking down the street, another $20, another $20.
Go home,
everybody's
five in the couch.
Look at Mash. He's happy to continue to add more items here to this Sivir build. Now he's got lifesteal as well. He's actually surpassed Arrow in levels now. Level 16 Sivir ultimate, and there it is.
There we go. Echo Fox pulling the trigger, trying to win right here. Xpecial already down. Echo Fox trying to push this comeback all the way.
Nice,
but they lose Akaadian. 4 versus 4. Brandini on the front line. Ryu providing the threaded volleys. Mash again, so critical in these fights. 1 for 1.
All right. MikeYeung again is able to punish Echo Fox for letting the Zac through. And honestly, you're talking about keeping your eye on Mike. I think he's done very well as far as the front line here for Phoenix1. And as far as being able to play this Zac, a lot of people have not even put time into practicing on Zac since he's so frequently banned. But he's definitely coming out with some big plays here, keeping Phoenix1 in it.
71 to 65,000 gold. And Echo Fox shows no fear either. This isn't a team that's just sitting in their base hoping that they can get a counterattack on Phoenix1. They were the ones pushing this entire thing.
Yeah, Sivir ultimate, flash on Akaadian was used as well. They did only take out the Blitzcrank though, which, although, you know, pulling hooks on people and isolating them late game is very important. Once you're in the 5-on-5 full commitment and engage, Blitzcrank doesn't add a tremendous amount to your actual team fight. Most of his value is in isolating an enemy target. So, you know, burning him down first as far as the 5-on-5 goes is not good team fight shot calling. It's not good, you know, initial target to burn down. You'd much rather actually have any other target be your first, even the Zac, actually. Here we go, though. Gonna go for him.
Echo Fox again with a trigger pull. Akaadian gonna be dragged away from the rest of the team, isolated like you were talking about, Kobe. Let's bounce into the back lines. Akaadian still soaking it up. From behind comes Brandini on top of Ryu. Echo Fox still chasing this, but now disengaging, making sure they don't overcommit. Both teams know the next big team fight is probably gonna end this one.
I love it when Baron and Elder Dragon are both ready, but the bases are open. No inhibitor turret. Phoenix1 are getting charged down through the river.
Froggen wants to get one of those big crits with the static shiv and the rapid fire cannon. Echo Fox with the priority over mid lane now. Phoenix1 off to the side. MikeYeung seeing if maybe there's a way to get in there with some stretching strikes, but needs his health bar to regenerate a little bit as well. The tanks, the front line on Phoenix1, not healthy.
Also, though, Phoenix1 have a triple wave on top side that is going to pressure that inhibitor. So Echo Fox, even though they're moving up the mid lane, they're gonna have to deal with this in some way. Send someone back, you know, get Brandini over there.
Oh, Xpecial walking a bit too close. Akaadian starting this fight off. Xpecial falls to Froggen. Echo Fox gets one. Are they gonna look for more?
Sivir ultimate, timing out.
Froggen jumping in there, trying to find whatever damage he might be able to. Flashes over the wall, wants to go for Ryu. Deadly Flourish out onto the Echo Fox mid laner, juggling him back, Stand United down, but Froggen goes too far. Arrow getting himself away. As Zig now in the middle of 4 Echo Fox members drops as well. 1 for 2, a double kill on the side of Echo Fox for Akaadian. There are 3 Phoenix1 members down, and this is likely game.
It's just the carries left alive. They're going to have to pull out some magic here because MASH is taking down the Nexus turrets.
Weaver's Wall comes out, but the Maokai ultimate also fired off just as a zoning tool. They jump on top of Eru. Ryu's going to be next, and ladies and gentlemen, Echo Fox pull off the comeback and will take down Phoenix1.
What an opener to this series. Echo Fox looking to break themselves out of that 7th place tie at the bottom of the standings and separate themselves from the rest.
What a fantastic comeback from this team, being as behind as they were at one point. 2 inhibitors down, no Nexus turrets, 12K deficit, and they come back and are the ones to find the enemy Nexus. That is incredibly impressive from this team, and it shows a coordination and ability because we critiqued them earlier saying you sometimes don't have that synergy, you don't have that coherent 5-man unit when you have this sub-situation in the way that it is, but this team just demonstrated the ability to work together as a team and get through a really nasty situation.
Kind of. It's definitely a struggle, them. The journey,
it was a struggle.
They learned a lot on the journey, I would definitely
That's the best kind of journey.
And they got 400 CS on Sivir. So there you go. Game plan was achieved, and they got MASH to his, you know, multiple crit items there on the Sivir with the power of the engagement here. And that's kind of the benefit of running these team comps where we have a big front line, we have a scaling AD carry, we have 2 scaling, you know, technically carries.
One in the mid lane.
And they can kind of rely on that later game strategy of group of S5, front, you know, guys in the front, buy some time for the Sivir, and the bouncing, you know, boomerangs will do their work.
And we talked back in Champion Select 42 minutes ago about how the momentum,
remember those days?
Yeah, good old days, good old times, could affect either one of these teams going into the remainder of the series. And having a first game like that where you're that far ahead and then dropping the win to the other team, you've got to hope that that doesn't affect the momentum and the morale too much for Phoenix1. But to get their breakdown of the game, we're going to go ahead and send things over to Dash and Mark.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. Mark, things looked so good for Phoenix1, and then they looked so bad for Phoenix1. What happened?
I think the big thing was they got outscaled. You have more tanks, you got double AD carry, double marksman, and if you go late enough, you will eventually overtake most team comps, especially one with a Jayce top. The Blitzcrank gonna get outshone by Janna in a team fight where you're not instantly blowing up the Janna.
Right.
And you get into this kind of situation where I don't love Echo Fox's team comp for Echo Fox just because they're a team that we generally say, their late game's not great. We've seen them throw a ton of games based off poor objective control and stuff like that. And you're taking a comp that wants to scale. It's true you're up against another team that's not that great, so maybe they're not great at closing out either, and you're just focused on having the better team comp late game, which I can understand, but you give up the Zac to do it. You don't have any playmaking for your Maokai early on, so you are kind of setting yourself up to fall behind and then have to play from there.
I think that's the key. The idea that both Zac and Maokai were left up, Echo Fox decides, all right, we're going to give away this Zac priority for a Maokai and a Janna. Now, Janna's kind of risen to, to dominance here, most recently in the North American LCS, in light of a lot of the tanks that are being played. But of course, Phoenix1 doesn't continue to draft tanks from that point. They go for that more early, aggressive composition to try and snowball the lead.
And that's the thing, like, you could kind of expect what was going to happen. Not much playmaking and setup for Maokai. Going to get outperformed by Zac in the early game. Same with Sivir versus Jhin. Generally, if there's a skirmish, Jin's going to do better. Shen will be pushed in versus Jayce. He's going to be pressured, and then we got to see that right away.
But if we can get to that three-item point for Echo Fox, things will kind of sway in their favor. That's exactly how this game went. Let's roll through some replays to get a little bit of a recap on this one. 9:40 into the game, we got a fight near the bot lane. 4-for-1 in favor of Phoenix1. This made it look like their plan was going to work out in their favor.
I mean, to be fair, it did for the most part. You get into this early game skirmish, you think, okay, we're gonna have the Shen TP in, but he's gonna be able to get canceled out by the Jayce, who hasn't pushed in under his turret. Zac is a huge menace in this fight. Even though Maokai does more damage over the course of this fight, you just saw how much disruption and displacement came in from the Zac. Gets the Sivir isolated out. Jhin continuing to throw in support with the roots and long-range damage. Once again, opening up with his ultimate here to help snipe out a couple kills. That's extremely useful, and right away, 4-for-1 for Phoenix1 in the early game, doing exactly what we thought their comp would do.
All right, let's push ourselves ahead to 24 minutes into the game. Phoenix1 get a fight near the Dragon. It's very extended, but it will end up being essentially an ace. 5-for-0 starts here with the pull onto Akaadian.
And this is just really nice target selection kind of on the side of Phoenix1. First, they grab Akaadian, they pull him in. That forces Echo Fox to go into full retreat mode as they're trying to escape. A nice wall cuts out one of the main escape paths, so Fox kind of runs up into this gate, is just nowhere to go, shooting fish in a barrel, pulls the Janna, she goes down. Surprisingly enough, Phoenix1 had gotten chunked out low enough that they didn't feel super safe contesting this Dragon. So Echo Fox is actually going to be able to force this one. And they didn't quite play to their win conditions, and they made this game even harder than they needed to. Because you can grab this Infernal, and from here, just run away. Just get out, don't look to turn.
Exactly, that's what's so peculiar about it. We've identified that we're a comp that wants to scale. We should feel lucky to have gotten, to this point in the game where we're able to take an Infernal Dragon with a gold deficit. Instead, a strange attempt at a flash engage from Brandini means all four of these members will go down. And to be honest, at this point, this is when you and I looked at each other and go, well, okay, this is the end of the game, right? You're going to give away a Baron now to Phoenix1. They've got the gold lead and the tools to push that advantage forward. They were 10K up at that point.
10K up, they grab the Baron, they grab double inhib. You're thinking this game is over. They give up a couple kills when trying to end the game. And what ends up happening is that even though Phoenix1 is super far ahead, they actually really stopped being able to farm their minion waves. And you saw at 35 minutes into the game, it was actually almost like 100 CS advantage for both the mid and AD carry.
Right.
And they actually are relatively strong despite how far they are behind. The carries still have close to even items as their counterparts.
Right, through the early and mid portions of the game, Froggen did have a slight lead over Ryu in terms of CS, but Jayce was essentially covering that over the Shen, whereas in the bot lane they were going essentially even. But then we hit that 25 to 35 minute mark you're talking about, and all of a sudden MASH is 100+ CS up over a Jhin, so their items are essentially the same. We hit that 3-item point where both AD carries have eye edges, both have a Zeal item of some kind, and we see how fights develop from that point.
Right, and even though you see that, the AD carries are equal, the tanks don't need to necessarily be equal because you have so much more tanking ability on your team already. So you see how quickly Xpecial goes down, not able to match up at all compared to a Shen and a Maokai. They stay at half health after that kind of trade there, and then it's just an easy chase. You only have the Zac who can potentially go in, and you don't necessarily have great burst follow-up. Froggen gets a little aggressive.
This looked dangerous.
Yeah, this looked like it might get turned a little bit, gets caught out of position, but a couple times we saw Zig get way too far forward, tries to flash in onto MASH, able to be kept alive with the Janna, with the Shen, providing some support for him. And then once the Jayce is down, you just have two carries, no front line. It's easy to close this game out.
Yep, there you have it. Brandini will be picking up player of the game this time around. He got a couple good solo kills we saw under turret when Zig was getting over aggressive. So good punishes there, as well as, you know, playing that front line. Again, we talked about the difference between a, you know, single tank comp and a double tank comp. Definitely gave room for the AD carries in that late game on the side of EchoFox to push the damage forward.
Especially with the Janna being able to provide so much extra support on the back line, the most important members of your team getting that extra help. Funnily enough, you look at that gold graph and you saw that they actually won, or lost, excuse me, still with a gold advantage. Brandini going to pick up player of the game on that Shen. Kind of obviously picking for the team. He had the last pick. They took the Shen into the Jayce. They were saying, we're fine with you losing. He actually was relatively even for most of the game. Actually got a solo kill onto Zig as well. Able to kind of negate some of those early game advantages, and then had a monster performance in the late game.
And this was with Ryu back in the lineup for Phoenix1. So again, making that decision, and it nets the loss off of a 13.5K gold lead at one point in the game. Mentality might suffer here moving into game 2. For EchoFox, it'll feel good to have come back in that game, but even still,
well, what are they going to do with their roster?
Right,
from here?
you never want to go, but you never want to let a game get to this point, even if you do outscale. No matter how badly you outscale, you never want to be down 13.5K. So we'll see what kind of adjustments they make here moving into game 2 in terms of setting themselves up to not get so far behind.
That's the question mark anytime you talk about adjustments with EchoFox, is it's not just, well, what are we going to change in game? It's, what are they going to do out of game?
Right.
You know, Brandini gets player of the game. Is he even going to stay in again? Who knows? Because it feels like we've been struggling on the outside to follow the logic that EchoFox is using with their substitutions.
Absolutely. We're going to step away, but we'll see if Phoenix1 can even up the score versus EchoFox in game 2. Meet us here after the break.